preview for next year of what to expect at Madison. While we are beginning, if you would please go to the Q&A, and if you would please put your name and your student's name so that you can get credit for attending this meeting.
And Ms. Bloom, may I announce Spanish translation, please?
Absolutely.
Buenas tardes las familias que necesiten escuchar en español. En la parte baja de su pantalla hay un símbolo del mundo en donde pueden hacer clic y seleccionar el idioma en español. Si están usando un celular, también en la parte baja de la pantalla va a haber 3 puntos o la palabra more, más, en donde también pueden hacer clic y seleccionar el idioma en español. Thank you, Ms. Bloom.
Thank you very much, Bert. Again, welcome for our parent meeting. Ms. Lester, could we have the parent meeting slides up, please?
They should be up.
I see student meeting.
Oh, okay, sorry, hold on.
So while we're waiting for our presentation, once again, if you have not put your name and your student's name into the Q&A, please do so that we can give you credit for attending tonight. We thank you very much for coming. We're going to preview the 22-23 school year with you. And as you see from our slide deck up, which is going to be switching in just a second, we are going to be talking to your students about this tomorrow in assemblies. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Ms. Lester. Moving on. Again, interpretation services for anyone who needs them. Moving on. This is for the interpretation on a cellular smartphone. Moving on. And we have the Q&A, which we will be answering at the end. So if you have questions, please put them in and we will get to them at the end. Again, if you haven't yet, would you please put your name and your student's name into the Q&A so that we can give you credit for attending tonight. Moving on. Again, go back one, please. Again, good evening. My name is Cheryl Bloom and I am the principal of Madison Middle School. And I want to welcome you to this meeting, and I want to make sure that we have time at the end for questions and answers for anything that you didn't get. My favorite quote is one by Maya Angelou, and it's do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. And that pretty much summed up this year in anticipation of next year. We all know how incredibly difficult this year has been, with lots of COVID-19 cases, everyone traumatized to a greater or lesser extent, supply chain issues, social media exploding, and the general uneasiness of the political climate. To help everyone survive this extraordinary re-entry to school and society, we relaxed our policies in many areas, such as uniforms. We allowed non-collared blue and white t-shirts, we allowed blue sweats, we allowed PE clothes during the day, and we relaxed our policies and discipline. We had far fewer consequences for any misbehavior. Can we move on to the next slide, please? We are now returning to our previously stated policies, which we will spend the rest of the meeting detailing. Research tells us that students do better, they focus better, they learn better when there is structure. They feel safer with rules that clearly outline and are consistently adhered to. We expect all students to follow these rules from the moment they set foot on campus, August 15th. Monday, August 15th is the first day of school. We will also review them at orientation and at the first week of school to make sure everyone clearly understands them. Orientation dates for the 6th grade, if you have incoming students, it's Monday, August 8th. If you have 7th grade students, these are the current 6th graders going into 7th grade, it is Tuesday, August 9th. And if you have current 7th graders who will be 8th graders next year, it is Wednesday, August 10th, and they're going to be in the morning. You will receive much more information about them later on this summer. At orientation, students will receive their textbooks, their planners, their schedules, and we will have uniform shirts for sale. It is extremely important for everyone to be at orientation, student and parent, especially for our current 7th graders who will be 8th graders in the fall, because we're going to discuss all the special requirements and all the special activities for them specifically. This presentation will be available on Schoology shortly, so you can watch it at your leisure and check any points on our slide deck. And once again, please put your name and your student's name in the chat, well, in the Q&A, excuse me, so we can record your attendance. Also, please put any questions that you have in the Q&A. We will gather the most asked questions for the answers at the end of the presentation, as well as answer them directly as we go along. So let's get started with the most important topic that we have, safety. Moving on. Oh, there you go, moving on again. Safety on campus is our #1 concern. You cannot learn if you don't feel safe and comfortable. Also, you cannot teach if you do not feel safe and comfortable. So we stress very heavily respect for ourselves, respect for others, and respect for the environment, which in this case is the campus of Madison. All students and staff deserve a safe campus environment. We will have no tolerance for any racial slurs, any derogatory language, or any obscenities, whether they're verbal, whether they say to each other, or whether they write them down, or whether they're drawn. Okay, no tolerance for any racial slurs or derogatory language or obscenities. No tolerance for vandalism. I do not want to see any tagging anywhere on the buildings, in the bathrooms, in the classrooms. If that happens, we're going to get into our tiered levels of consequences, but know that that will be community service for the students to make up what they have damaged. No roughhousing, and that's a big problem we have right now, and we're going to get to that in just a few minutes. And here is the biggest scourge of all, social media. Most of the time, any of the threats that we hear about, any of the bad behavior is not necessarily happened on campus. It happened through social media. And then the conflict spills over into the school. So please do your best to monitor your students' social media use and monitor what they put out on social media. Because there is no direct consequence and there is no accountability, because once you post something and you just get off, everybody else deals with it. It's very important that we keep a hold of social media. And part of what we will be doing in our advisories next year is going over good digital citizenship. Moving on. Let's talk about uniforms. As I said earlier, we did relax a lot of our rules. We couldn't find blue clothes at the beginning of the year because of supply chain issues, etc. So now we're going back to our usual uniform policy. Navy blue bottoms, but no sweats, no tights, no jeans. But navy blue bottoms, any skirts, any dresses, any pants, any shorts, and closed-toed shoes. We want to make sure that the students are safe on campus, so closed-toed shoes. And for the top, navy blue or white collared shirts, no t-shirts, and nothing with writing on it unless the writing is about Madison. Madison shirts are always welcome on Fridays. This year, the 8th graders are going to get their shirts in the fall, their special class shirts. We have a lot of clubs and electives on campus that like to wear shirts, leadership, yearbook, the Harry Potter Club, the movie club, all of those, so that's fine too. We can do the PLEs, such as the Medical Magnet and CSED and Discover and SAS. Those can be t-shirts and those can be worn on Fridays, because one of the things that we really want to do is build our Madison community. What happens if your student is out of uniform? First off, we are going to look every day, because from 8:30 to 8:42, we are going back to BIC, breakfast in the classroom. So from 8:30 to 8:42 every morning, we are going to have breakfast. We're going to have our tech check to make sure that students have their laptops and have them charged. And 3, we're going to go for uniform checks. If the student is not in uniform, we are going to send them to the NPR, where the IPS coordinators are going to give them loaners. And in addition to taking the student's clothing and marking it up with a name tag on a piece of tape, we're also going to take the phones as collateral. This year, we invested in lots of red sweats and orange t-shirts to give students who were out of uniform. And I ended up with 3 orange shirts and 3 pairs of red sweats at the end of the year. I have a lot of student clothes, they just never return them. So we would like to have them back so we can wash them and then give them to the next student. So we're going to take not only their clothes, but their phones as collateral. They will get them back at the end of the day when they hand over our uniform shirts and loaner clothes. We're going to give them their clothes and we're going to give them their phones. Okay. If we have a student who has a Buster badge, which will allow for free dress on Mondays, and we'll go over what the Buster badge is in a few minutes if your student doesn't already have one, then they're also going to lose their Buster badge. Buster badges must be kept up every 10 weeks. We go by the grades and the citizenship and the attendance. They must be re-earned every 10 weeks. So if we pull a Buster badge, that student then has to re-earn it at the 10-week mark. We always have progressive consequences. You are free really to do as you would like, to make your own decisions, but you are not free from the consequences of them. But it's progressive because everybody has a bad day. Everybody makes a bad decision. That's what we're here to help the students with. And even as adults, we still sometimes have bad days, sometimes make bad decisions. So the first offense is just going to be the phone with the loaners. The second offense will be the phone and a parent call home so that you know that your student has now twice not worn their uniform. The third offense is going to be the phone, but this time when we call you, we're going to ask that you come in to pick up the phone. And the fourth offense, not only is it the phone and we're going to call you to come pick it up, but then we're going to give some academic intervention, which is a time out. It allows the students to sit and think and reflect. How could they be doing better? What kind of decisions have led them here? And what could they do not to be here anymore? Because again, we all make mistakes. We all have bad days, and this allows them the reflection time to be able to stop and reconsider their actions. Moving on. Now I introduce to you Elizabeth Lester, who is one of our assistant principals, and she's going to go over positive behavior and intervention support.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this important meeting as we prepare for next year. So kind of the idea behind our positive behavior and intervention support is this idea that, just like Ms. Bloom was saying, we have bad days. We're working with children who are learning how to make good choices. And so we have this tiered system of consequences. And so this is something where we're going to be starting at the classroom level and moving up. So for example, at the tier 1 classroom level, this may look where the teacher has noticed a behavior and they may end up having your student and move their seat, giving them a warning, helping redirect their behavior, or pulling them aside and having a private chat. And the idea being that by helping them recognize what they've done and what behaviors they should be doing, it will help them be able to refocus and stay in the classroom to be able to continue learning. However, we know that sometimes we, instruct the first time and maybe it's not working, maybe there's an ongoing behavior. And at that point, then we start to move to our tier 2. So this is going to be working with our counselors. And so this is where you may find that your student is meeting with the counselor, their grade level counselor, and having conversations about what appropriate behaviors look like in the classroom or at school. And you'll be getting, some phone calls, letting you know that, hey, this behavior has been occurring. We've tried to redirect them within the classroom, but we're having an ongoing situation. At tier 3, when this behavior continues, if we're still having to redirect them, the same behaviors are occurring, then we start to move into our tier 3 with our intervention prevention support coordinators. And so this is, again, where we've gone through level 1, we've gone through level 2, and that behavior hasn't changed. And so this is going to be something where our IPS coordinators, that's our intervention prevention coordinators, will be helping to provide support for our students to identify what the behaviors are that are leading them to be there and what behaviors really should be looking like, and working with you, our families, to help them support that proper behavior. There are instances where we may go to a higher level immediately, such as reaching out to our intervention prevention coordinators in the case of a student that is fighting or is tagging or using hate speech. And in cases like this, we're going to help them redirect, but we're also going to help them reconnect with our community through some various types of community service. And so these different things are ways to be able to help our children be able to identify what their behaviors are and behaviors that they should be using. And so again, at the classroom level, they'll then go to the counselor level, and if needed, our intervention prevention supports. And at each step, we'll be having parent contact with you to let you know. And like some of these common behaviors might be things like not following directions, having their phones out during class, being disrespectful or disruptive. And continued kind of issues, we'll be asking for your support with parent conferences and shadowing. And these would particularly be ones for that ongoing, especially our disruptive ones, having things that maybe are illegal, vandalism, bullying, filming on school grounds without permission. And that's something we've seen a lot of this year. And we really want to support our students in understanding that everybody has the right to be able to say if they want to be recorded. And without that permission, especially on school grounds, we don't permit it. And we're going to be asking you to support us to help our students understand this. And another one definitely with the shadowing would be for if students are having trouble staying in class and they're leaving class excessively or without permission. And so for an example of how this might look, we have an example of roughhousing and horseplay. This is when the children are maybe jumping on each other's back or play fighting. And we really hope to help the students understand that this is never a good idea. These things can accelerate where maybe it starts off as playing, but somebody wasn't finding it as playing, it gets a little out of hand. And so we really want to help our students understand that horse playing or roughhousing is not a good idea. And so, for example, at tier 1, we may stop the behavior and then have the students sit down for a few minutes, kind of like benching them, pulling them aside, letting them calm down, having that conversation with them, and then letting them get back, with their friends at lunch to be able to practice appropriate behavior. If it were to continue, then again, we're going to stop that behavior, and they might spend additional time in the Zen zone with a parent phone call to help you understand what their behaviors were for that day. If that behavior were to continue, Then again, we stop the behavior, and this time we will help them through some academic intervention along with that phone call home. And so you can see, like, we start with that tier 1, moving on to tier 2, and moving into tier 3 with that tiered system of consequences. We all know that being present at school helps us be able to be part of our learning environment. And we know that this year we had some various things that led to our attendance, but next year we're going to be start a new year, and we're going to all be there to support our students being in class. And so we really believe that students being in class every period and every day really supports them to be successful. And so we ask for you to be able to support us through limiting the appointments that the students need to participate in during the school day, because this really minimizes the time that they are in the classroom learning. And so 2 areas that we have found that really we're asking for your support with is really being aware of your child's PE schedule and what the schedule is for the day, because we really find that it is very difficult, which leads to your wait time to get your student when it's during PE. And so if it's, PE or during lunch, these times it's very difficult to be able to pull the student out. And so please plan accordingly to be able to support us and you in really making sure that if there's appointments, that we are not doing it during their PE time or during lunch, that they need to be pulled out. Another part that really supports our students being there present for the entire day is making sure that we're there at the beginning of school. And so school begins at 8:30. That means that our first bell rings at 8:20, because the idea is that they're there by 8:20 at school so that they are in their classroom ready to participate in the instructional day by 8:30. And so our goal is really to have no tardies to any class, which does include the beginning of the day. So if we can all help each other out by getting them up early, we know that can be difficult with middle school kids, but helping get them maybe up that extra 10 minutes in the morning. So that way they are at school by 8:20. So they are in their classrooms by 8:30. And so the additional thing to help that we ask that you can help your student maybe understand as we move forward into next year is that our goal is to have your student in class from bell to bell. So that means that limiting passes during class time and using the phone as a collateral. So that way, if they are needing to go somewhere, that they really have that phone to return to, because we all know the students, value their phones. And so having that opportunity for having them understand that we're going to be limiting their passes, and they will be using their phone as collateral to help ensure that they are in class for as much of the instructional period as possible. You'll need to come off mute.
It would not be a meeting unless I was on mute. At least one time I was trying to talk. So let's just review the phone for just a second, because I had a question in the chat. Remember, your student may have a phone, but it is to be off between 8:30 and 3:17, and it is to be away in their backpack, not in their pocket. So it's not a problem for us to take the phone because they should not be using it during school. In addition, someone mentioned lock boxes, and yes, we will have lock boxes, and they will be in our safe during the day until they come to pick it back up. But let's talk about something fun now, because school should have some fun aspects too. It is not all dire warnings and safety things. So what can we expect for next year? First off, we're going to go back to our Buster Badge Mondays. We make a big deal out of the uniforms because that's one way that we keep the school very safe, is if everybody is dressed exactly the same way, then there are no issues regarding dress. So that's part of our safety plan. However, students like to get out of their uniforms, which we Totally understand. So we look at the Buster Badge, and based upon their 10-week grades, so this will happen sometime around October in the fall semester, if we have students who are ready for culmination, because we stress culmination from the first time they set foot on campus as sixth graders, because that is the end goal for everyone, to walk across that stage on the last day of school of their 8th grade year, to have you very proudly taking pictures of them and waving and seeing them with their certificates. That's our end goal. So with that emphasis, if they have a 2.0 GPA, 96% attendance, and no more than 3 U's and good citizenship, then they're going to earn a Buster Badge from their 10-week grades. And with that Buster Badge that they'll wear on the lanyard that we give them, they will get free dress on Mondays. Now, we all need to always look forward and improve. And so if the student at the 10-week mark doesn't have those requirements, that is not a problem at all, because we believe in a growth mindset. It's not that I can't do it, it's that I can't do it yet. And I am always looking to push myself for challenges and do better. So every 10 weeks, the 10-week in the fall, the 20-week in the fall, and the 10-week in the spring, each time we are going to have everyone reapply for Buster Badges. So if you don't get it the first time, if your student doesn't get it the first time because maybe they're having a little hard time settling into class, they have 10 more weeks to improve themselves and earn it. So they will also need to be earning the Buster Badges at all times. Okay, next, we are going to have the NPR open at least 3 days a week during lunch. We're going to have games, and we have a whole bunch of games, big Connect Fours and cornhole and big chess sets and all sorts of things. They can go in there and play. We're going to have movie days. Now, of course, it's a 30-minute lunch, so one movie is going to last us for several weeks, but they're going to be able to go in and watch a movie. We're also going to have sports. This year, we've had a lot of students very interested in the World Cup soccer. So we've actually been playing on our big Promethean screens. We've been playing the games during lunch. So those sorts of things that we can all work on and all have fun during the day. Then we have clubs, and we're going to have a club rush day in September so that the students can go to the quad and see all the clubs that we have and they can join them. But in addition, they also will be able to make their own clubs. That's always an option. What does it take to make a club? A big idea, something that everybody's excited about, whatever. We have Kindness Club, we have GSA, we have Movie Club, we have Harry Potter Club, we have Anime Club, we have all kinds of things. So the idea, a few people to start it, and a staff sponsor. That's all it takes. And we'll help the student go through the constitutional process. And that way, they can start their own club. That's always open too. We're going to have fun Fridays in the quad with music and games. We're going to have staff versus student games, which is really very fun. We have kickball games, we have basketball games, we have soccer games. We need to invite some new faculty to come, because while the kids stay the same every year, the faculty gets older every year. So we need to work on that. Plus, we're going to have end of the semester grade level field trips so that we have something that the kids can look forward to and know that their good behavior as they go along is going to allow them to participate in these grade level field trips. In 8th grade, we say to them, you really want to do well because you want to cross the stage, you want to go to culmination, you don't want to have bad behavior because then you could be pulled from culmination. And so we're looking at the 6th, 7th grades also with field trips to be able to incentivize the kids to do well. Okay, so we don't want tardies or unexcused absences. Behavior, citizenship, and grades will affect their eligibility for these sorts of things like the staff versus student games, attendance, and the grade level field trips. And we want them to practice always choosing to make good choices. So I noticed that there are a lot of questions here because that pretty much finishes our presentation. So somebody asked for the dates of orientation again, 8th, 9th, 10th in August in the morning, and that will be the 6th grade on the 8th, the 7th grade on the 7th, no, the 7th grade on the 9th, and the 8th grade on the 10th. Okay. What happens with absences when the student is having symptoms of COVID-19? Those do not count against the student in terms of the 96% attendance. That is something above and beyond what we have control over. So if the student is positive for COVID, that's not going to count against them at all. Okay. Let's see. Will there be an increase in quality homework assignments to reinforce the day's learning? This teacher is in charge of the instruction and in charge of the homework assignments. So that would be a question best directed to the individual teachers. What does MPR stand for? Good question. Multi-purpose room. So that's what it is. It's the multi-purpose. Are there any dance or cheer teams? Not at this time. The cheer and the drumline went through the after school program, so we have to look to them to bring these things back. Let's see, I see a couple of questions in Spanish. So Lydia, maybe about 5 or 6 up, MA. About 5 or 6 up, MA. Yes. Okay, that is district policy. And that is district policy, and that's one of the reasons why we allow them to have cell phones off in their backpack in case there is an emergency. If they just need to contact a parent, that's no problem. We have a phone in the main office that is always available for students to use. Okay. By the way, if you haven't yet put your name and your student's name in the Q&A, please do so that we can give you credit for attending. Will the kids have a choice in wearing masks? Yes, that's what we've gone to now. The students have a choice to wear a mask or not, and that will probably continue next year. Is there going to be a guitar class? Yes, we are starting a small guitar class with the 6th grade, and we hope to expand it as we go along. Okay, there is no Madison summer school, but there is summer school for Madison students. Our campus is actually being taken over by Grant, who is going to do their summer school, because if you've driven by Grant lately, you notice that they are taking down all of the buildings and building new ones in their place. So they're going to be using Madison. Right now, the counselors, especially Miss Altunian, who's our assistant principal in charge of counseling, are contacting you through phone and through Schoology to see if your student would like to participate. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, do you know if the COVID-19 vaccine is mandatory? It is not at this time. All the others, the Tdap and all of that, still need to be adhered to. But COVID-19, the district is in accordance with the state, and the state is not requiring the vaccine until next summer, the summer of 23, not the summer of 22. Okay, any other questions if you want to put them in the chat? And again, if you have not signed in, please sign in the Q&A and make sure you put your name and you put your student's name so you can get credit for this meeting. And if I see someone says something about not comfortable, please contact us directly so we can talk to you about that, because I don't want to answer individual questions here. Will there be a daily pass? Right now, I don't think so, but I honestly don't know. The district has not given us any indication that we will continue, but again, they haven't given us any indication that they won't. I do know that we will go to rapid tests for students who are symptomatic, but I don't think that there will be mass testing like there is this year. But stay tuned, because that will come out from the district hopefully very soon. Can we repeat the Buster Badge? Absolutely. At the 10-week fall grades, we're going to look to see if the student is on track for culmination, which for us means a 2.0 GPA or above, 96% attendance, COVID of course doesn't count, and no more than 3 U's and good citizenship. If the student has that, they're going to get a Buster Badge for the next 10 weeks. They also are going to get a lanyard that they're going to put their Buster Badge in, and that will give them free dress on Mondays if they wear their lanyard with their Buster Badge in it. Okay, so that is always every 10 weeks. So if you can't learn it the first time, you can earn it the second time. You can earn it the third time. Everybody has to re-earn it every 10 weeks. There are some questions about security. And yes, we are well aware. Trust me, we are just as concerned as you are, because we are actually on the campus. And we are looking at hiring a 6th campus security. We now all wear vests when we go out. They're bright yellow. You can see them from the space station. It's quite a fashion statement. And we are looking at, therefore, being very visible so students can find us at all times and we can take care of everything going on. Okay. Where do you sign up to get credit for attending the meeting? Right there in the Q&A, put your name and your student's name. Are you going to have to wear masks for the 8th grade? Not unless you would like to. Is there going to be an option of online education in the fall? Yes, it is still going to be City of Angels. You can certainly do that. Can kids wear the same PE uniforms they wore this year if they are still in good shape? The answer is absolutely. You do not need to buy or replace the PE uniform. If it is still in good shape, and it still fits, because some of our students are shooting up like you would not believe in terms of height, then the answer is absolutely yes. Orientation for 8th grade is going to be Wednesday, August 10th in the morning, and you'll receive more information about that. Any other questions? How many is the limit to being absent? 96% means no more than 7 excused absences. Okay, again, COVID doesn't count. If you happen to be unlucky enough to catch COVID, then we will work with you separately. That does not account for your attendance. Okay. Anything else? As always, you can always contact us. The number at school is 818-255-5200. We are happy to get back to you at any time. We have counselors. Ms. Mendoza will be for the 7th grade because she travels with them from the 6th grade. Ms. Hernandez will be the 8th grade counselor because she's traveling with them from the 7th grade. So that's one of the ways that we build community. And we are very happy to answer questions at any time. You can also get to us through Schoology or through our emails. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so if you have any other questions after this, no problem. Just get in touch with us through the school or through email or through Schoology. We want to thank you very much for attending, and we hope you have a very good rest of your evening. Thank you for partnering with us to make school as safe as we possibly can. Thank you.